What a difference a weekend makes in competitive Pokemon Go PvP. Last weekend in the Milwaukee Regional Championships, the meta was set. A group of friends built a powerful meta team centered around the flexible Malamar, and Out of Pocket used this team to claim the title of Milwaukee Regional Champion, and Malamar swept the entire podium. However, anytime a top meta team is established, then there's always an opportunity for trainers to try and get creative when it comes to core breaking it. And that leads us to this weekend's regional championships. There were actually 3 regional championships this weekend, one in Santiago, one in Melbourne, and a special championship in Utrecht. Despite the fact that these tournaments took place on completely opposite sides of the globe, they shared something in common, and that was the stratospheric rise of a powerful shadow Pokemon that just by itself had an ability to completely core break this Milwaukee regional winning team. And that Pokemon is Shadow Typhlosion. Shadow Typhlosion is a pure fire type Pokemon with the fast move of Incinerate and the charge moves of Thunder Punch and its powerful legacy attack, Blast Burn. Part of why Typhlosion is able to effectively dismantle this team is due to its pacing and incredible coverage. Typhlosion's Incinerate helps it melt through Pokemon like Jumpluff and Tinkaton, and thanks to its Incinerate Thunder Punch pacing, it's able to keep pace with the lightning-fast Malamar. Add to that the fact that Thunder Punch allows it to hit for super effective damage against water types that would hit it for super effective damage in return, and it actually picks up wins against Shadow Feraligatr and can do very, very well against Lapras. So, you're now looking at this dominant team of 6 from Milwaukee, and Shadow Typhlosion has an upper hand in 5 of the 6 matchups. Granted, there are some shielding scenarios where some of these Pokemon can get wins, but overall, it's looking very, very bleak. Diggersby is the best Typhlosion counter on this team, but even Diggersby is not a reliable counter swap as a Shadow Typhlosion save switch if it's up a little bit of energy, due to the fact that Blast Burn alternates between 15 turns and 10 turns for each Blast Burn. Diggersby alternates between 14 and 12, so if it's down a little bit of energy, even Diggersby can get very uncomfortable as the Incinerate Blast Burn combination hits very hard. And the choice to bring Shadow Typhlosion to regionals this weekend paid off in a massive way, as Typhlosion managed to place 2nd at Melbourne, 1st in Santiago, and 1st at the Special Championship in Utrecht. So today, I'm going to be showcasing several games from the regional that was streamed in Utrecht, and we're going to be showcasing the power of Shadow Typhlosion. The first match we'll be taking a look at is a battle of regional champions between Zzweilous and Palasha. Palasha is running the Milwaukee Championship winning team with Shadow Feraligatr, Malamar, Lapras, Tinkaton, Diggersby, and Jumpluff. But Zzweilous, unfortunately, has brought the Pokemon needed to break that team, and that is Shadow Typhlosion. For the rest of his team, he's paired it up with a Claydol, a Azumarill, Furret, regular Jumpluff with Energy Ball, and Corviknight. The leads are set for game number 1. Both battlers lock in. It's the Shadow Typhlosion for Zzweilous, staring down the Malamar for Palasha. Shadow Typhlosion is able to win the 1 shield here just by going straight Thunder Punch. If a Thunder Punch lands, then Typhlosion is able to Incinerate down after, so Palasha is forced to give up the first shield of the match. Palasha is going to continue to farm up quite a bit with the Malamar, and now Zzweilous is going to commit the shield and immediately under-tap this Thunder Punch, as this way he's going to be able to guarantee either switch advantage or shield advantage. Palasha decides to no shield here, not wanting to surrender both shields with the glassy Shadow Feraligatr in the back. In comes the Feraligatr looking for a Shadow Claw, farm down, but the Shadow Typhlosion will not be denied. Shadow Typhlosion able to make a Thunder Punch, forcing a shield from the Feraligatr, and not only has switch advantage been lost, but shield advantage has been lost as well. Zzweilous deciding to send in the Azumarill. While Furret has the better matchup into Feraligatr overall, Furret does not have a Hydro Cannon resist, so with this energy advantage, it's far better to send in the Azumarill. In comes Lapras. We're going to see the Play Rough banked for later, and now Furret is going to hit the field. Furret does lose the 0 shield scenario against Lapras, as Lapras is able to outpace and make double Sparkling Aria before the combination of Trailblaze followed by the boosted Swift. but Zzweilous does have a shield advantage, so is sitting in a very, very good position overall. Palasha is going to look to overfarm to the max, firing off the last second Sparkling Aria, and for Zzweilous, it is going to be a very comfortable shield, as now Furret will get to fire off the Swift, pick up the knockout onto this Lapras, and the Shadow Feraligatr has already taken quite a bit of damage throughout the course of this game. This Feraligatr took several Incinerates from the Typhlosion. The bubbles didn't do much, but throughout the course of this game, all the damage is added up to the point where a Play Rough should be easily enough to knock out the Shadow Feraligatr here. Play Rough comes through, down goes Feraligatr, and that's a convincing Game 1 win for Zzweilous. And that was all set up by the fact that Shadow Typhlosion is this team's kryptonite. For Game 2, Palasha leads the Diggersby, hoping to catch that Typhlosion, but instead it's going to be met with a Furret. Furret has super effective Trailblaze, that's going to be boosting up its attack, so realistically that's not where you want the Diggersby to be aligned. The Shadow Typhlosion safe in the back, very happy that it will have the opportunity to avoid this Diggersby. Now, I did mention that the Shadow Feraligatr does lose to Shadow Typhlosion, which is true. However, if Feraligatr can get even one turn of energy advantage, then Shadow Feraligatr actually does win that matchup. We did see a Scorching Sands attack drop from the Diggersby, lowering the Furret back down to normal, and that means this Trailblaze barely does not knock out. So for Palasha, this is her opportunity to try and get one turn ahead. She's going to undercharge, switch into Feraligatr, but Zzweilous with the prediction sends in the Typhlosion, and unfortunately, on perfectly even energy, this is a losing matchup for the Feraligatr. Feraligatr shaking its head, it cannot believe it. Typhlosion at the next Thunder Punch, but we will see the back-to-back Hydros reached one turn before by this Shadow Feraligatr. Feraligatr is going to throw 2 and the move here, being able to pressure the final shield away from Zzweilous. Zzweilous can throw 1 Incinerate and will be at the back-to-back Thunder Punches. She is unable to shield this move because Typhlosion is back-to-back Thunder Punches, so she's forced to let it go, save the shield for the Shadow Jumpluff, and hope that Jumpluff can sweep in the endgame. Jumpluff will be at a shield advantage, but there is a Thunder Punch on the Typhlosion. She sends in the Shadow Jumpluff. There's going to be a pivot into the Azumarill, and we will now see her adjust when she throws this Acrobatics, throwing it on 9 instead of the normal 1, 4, 7, 10, to adjust for the fact that Zzweilous was behind by a turn. Zzweilous now going to go for the double super effective Ice Beam. This Ice Beam will inflict massive damage, so we will see the final shield of the match come up here. She has to hope that an Acrobatics will be enough to knock out. If it does not, an Ice Beam is available for the Azumarill. Acrobatics into the Azumarill is going to connect. The Azumarill hangs on, but the catch, and Palasha looks like she's going to survive. Typhlosion basically beats the entire team. In comes Typhlosion, unable to get the Blast Burn. And in this win or go home game for Palasha on the loser side of the bracket, she's able to fight off elimination, force a decisive game 3, and at least temporarily stave off the one Pokemon wrecking ball that is Shadow Typhlosion. Both battlers lock in for this decisive Game 3, and it's the same leads as Game number 1, Shadow Typhlosion into Malamar. In that Game 1, Palasha played to the 1 shield, which is the 1 shielding scenario that Malamar does not win. So, in this instance, she is going to make an adjustment. She's going to no shield, calling that it's just a Thunder Punch. Now we'll be able to fire off a Foul Play, but there's the switch. The ever-crafty Zzweilous saves Typhlosion and absorbs the Foul Play onto Azumarill. She is going to throw a Psy Wave and then send in the Feraligatr there, transferring the bubble damage onto the Feraligatr in the hopes of making a move on Malamar later in the game. Azumarill will get to launch a Player Off. This will not be enough to knock out, but it will do very, very valuable chip damage, as Feraligatr is now deep into the red HP. Feraligatr does have close to 100 energy, and it gets to use it now. Hydro Cannon number 1 is going to connect. Palasha overfarming to the max and denying that energy with a Hydro Cannon on charge deck priority. She's hoping this will be able to knock out here. Hydro Cannon does not KO, and that is disastrous for Palasha. She's so close to another move on the Feraligatr, but now if she wants this energy, she actually has to shield to save it. Aggressive switch by Zzweilous into the Furret, and Furret will immediately give a Protect Shield in return, as Shadow Hydro Cannon would inflict some serious damage. Diggersby is going to hit the field, but Diggersby is down on energy, so it's not going to be able to make these Scorching Sands at the same pacing as the Trailblaze. The Trailblaze able to boost up the Furret. We saw in that game number 2, Diggersby got a clutch Scorching Sands debuff. Will history repeat itself? Scorching Sands does get the debuff. It is a 30% chance, so a bit of good luck does go Palasha's way. We're going to see a charge attack priority tie Furret baiting with the Swift, and the bait is successful, able to grab the shield from the Diggersby. Diggersby did click Fire Punch. The Furret's low enough that a Fire Punch is threatening. That will immediately get the shield from Zzweilous. Each Sucker Punch getting the Diggersby lower and lower, going for the Swift, but he grimaces. He thinks it may not knock out here. Diggersby is very bulky. The Swift does not KO. Palasha switches into the Feraligatr, anticipating a snipe attempt with the Azumarill, but that's unsuccessful. In comes the Diggersby, firing off the Fire Punch, but there's the switch and catch onto the Shadow Typhlosion. Typhlosion is going to resist the Fire Punch. These quick attacks do not knock out, and Zzweilous takes the win. In a bit of an entertaining turn of events here at the end, Zzweilous forgot there was a 1 HP Malamar alive. The good news is he still had 3 Pokemon, so the game still ends up with the correct outcome, but a bit of a funny moment there as he set the phone down slightly too early. But this set shows the power of Shadow Typhlosion. Palasha played brilliantly to take it to a Game 3, but the Typhlosion was just too much to handle. The next matchup we'll be taking a look at is Elephantflasha versus Koksiak. Elephantflasha is running a team with Azumarill, Tinkaton, Furret, Talonflame, Claydol, and Credilli, and Koksiak's running a team with the ever-deadly Shadow Typhlosion. Both battlers lock in right away for game number 1, and it's going to be Credilli into Furret. We do see the Shadow Typhlosion lurking in the back for Koksiak. This matchup is actually an interesting one because it's actually in Credilli's best interest to throw the Rock Tomb on alignment. This concedes an entire free Sucker Punch to Furret, which is normally a terrible thing to do, but in this particular instance, the goal is applying that -1 attack drop to the Furret before they throw the Trailblaze. Now the Trailblaze does almost no damage. Furret's able to boost itself back up to normal, but by ensuring that that first Trailblaze was a debuff Trailblaze, this does allow Credilli to win the Zero Shield. As this Rock Tomb is going to connect, we're going to see Trailblaze number 2, but Credilli is going to be able to survive this and get a nice Bullet Seed farm down to exit with energy to threaten whatever Elephantflasha does have in the back. Elephantflasha now has to think about it here. Is this one Incinerate range? He says no. He's going to bring in Azumarill, trying for a Bubble Down, but the Bubble Down is unsuccessful. Grass Knot is reached. We see the No Shield Grass Knot, big damage onto the Azumarill. And Azumarill is going to swiftly be met with the Corviknight. Corviknight does a good job at shutting down energy from the Azumarill. There's the switch into the Talonflame, and in comes Typhlosion. And the pacing on Typhlosion is what allows it to dominate this matchup. Thunder Punch is every 10 turns, whereas Talonflame to the first move is going to be 15 turns, and then 10 turns for the next few as long as they're throwing Fly. But the consistent 10-turn pacing of Typhlosion, just too good. Typhlosion lands that Thunder Punch, incinerates down, in comes Azumarill, and for Typhlosion, even though it's against the Water type, it's still able to pressure and pull away shields from this Azumarill. And all Koksiak has to do is get the shields down, because once the shields are down, then Corviknight is going to be at its strongest in the zero protect shield scenarios. So we will see the Thunder Punch clicked here just to force the final shield, and then we will see the switch out into the Corviknight. Corviknight able to absorb whatever Azumarill throws here, and we're now going to see Corviknight make it to the Sky Attack easily enough to KO the Azumarill. And the Credilli did a nice job of setting up that alignment, and with alignment, Shadow Typhlosion was just absolutely devastating in the endgame. As the battlers lock in for game 2, you're going to see a switch in strategy from Elephantflasha. Elephantflasha is leading Credilli into the Credilli of Koksiak. But look at the 3 Pokemon that he brought to this battle. It's Credilli, Azumarill, and Claydol. All 3 Pokemon that can hit Shadow Typhlosion for super effective damage. So after Typhlosion was a menace in game number 1, we see a bit of an overcorrection here, bringing 3 Shadow Typhlosion counters. But as we take a look at Koksiak's backline, Koksiak anticipated this and actually chose to bench the Typhlosion. So now there is no Typhlosion, despite the fact that Elephantflasha is running a team that's entire goal is to make Typhlosion have absolutely no play. In the Credilliumir, losing charge attack priority means they're going to be on the defensive. So that does mean that Koksiak is in a pretty tough position here. Firing off another Rock Tomb, losing the charge attack priority. You can see the big difference in health just by virtue of Palasha always being able to apply that debuff first. In comes Corviknight. We're going to see a pivot to Zzweilous, and Corviknight more than happy to stay in this matchup for now and look to fire off Sky Attack. Sky Attack will look to chip away at the opponent. Sky Attack is going to connect. Corviknight farming up quite a bit, and there's a beautiful catch and sneak, catching the Ice Beam on a Dewgong where it's double resisted. A well-earned fist pump there from Koksiak, as that was an absolutely perfect prediction. The switch clocks are heavily misaligned here. We are going to see Koksiak firing off an Icy Wind, just wanting to debuff this energy, and that's going to force Palasha into a difficult position. Palasha forced to go over 100 energy to wait for the switch clock to be available. He didn't want to throw the energy when debuffed, so in doing so, he ends up wasting energy by going over the cap. And that's all set up by the decision to go for the Icy Wind. You can't really afford to send Claydol into an up energy Dewgong, so Zzweilous is the logical choice. Zzweilous will hit the field, firing off this player off. Still 2 shields available for the Dewgong, so Dewgong is going to use one here. Dewgong just wants to slowly farm the opponent into a range where it will be able to pick up the knockout, but all this energy on Zzweilous means another play rough is ready. Koksiak is going to let this go, so the play rough is going to land. Dewgong going to look to farm up to the back-to-back moves. And this is so tough for Palasha. If Palasha shields, he has to double shield. But if he lets it go, that means his Claydol is going to be permanently debuffed for the remainder of the game. And that's because the only way to reset debuffs is to switch out unless you have a move that boosts your attack, which Claydol does not. So now this Claydol is debuffed and Corviknight is going to hit the field. And the decision to bench the Typhlosion, anticipating an overreaction and the bringing of multiple Typhlosion counters, is going to be a winning call from Koksiak here, as this Rock Tomb at -1 attack is just not going to do the damage that you would want it to do. Corviknight continues to farm here, going to fire off a Sky Attack now, and each charge attack that lands gets the Claydol lower and lower. Claydol is going to no shield because a move from the Dewgong would do more. Claydol going to be firing off its Rock Tomb, and Dewgong should be able to close out this game with a few Ice Shards. The Corviknight is going to no shield. There's the switch into the Dewgong. The match timer begins the countdown to 0. A final Rock Tomb is reached by Palasha, but with a shield to hide behind, Dewgong shields, the Ice Shard damage registers, and that's going to be a win. The final matchup we'll be taking a look at is the Winners Finals. This is a best of 5 series between a Mind Joke and Nickname. Nickname has the Shadow Typhlosion, but chooses to bench it game number 1, and he might regret that decision, as a Mind Joke picks a team that completely disrespects Typhlosion as a Pokemon. He has Tinkaton with 2 water types in the back for Alligator and Lapras. As for Nickname, he's running a line that completely disrespects Tinkaton. It's triple weak to Tinkaton, but unfortunately for him, the Tinkaton is here, so this is going to be a bit uncomfortable. But the truth is, Shadow Jumpluff into Tinkaton, while it's a losing matchup, is still not a particularly bad matchup. Jumpluff is able to outpace to the second charge attack, and the second acrobatics that lands will do some pretty significant damage to that Tinkaton. Tinkaton is going to farm up to the back-to-back bulldozes before unleashing the play rough, and for Nickname, the goal is simple. Try and get Tinkaton low and sweep with Furret. But a Mind Joke is checking for that Furret with an immediate pivot into Lapras. Lapras is a terrific Pokemon to bait out Furret with, as Lapras, even though it takes super effective damage from Trailblaze, does win the zeros, even on even energy, just by outpacing with 2 Sparkling Arias, the combination of the Trailblaze into the boosted Swift. Trailblaze is going to be no shielded by the Lapras, and Lapras will comfortably be able to outpace here, and now Nickname has a decision to make. Nickname is going to decide to invest in the Furret. He's making the read as to what's in the back. Furret hoping for a farm down here, but it's not going to happen. Instead, he's forced to fire off the Swift, or Lapras could have made it to another Sparkling Aria. The Swift is going to pick up the KO. This is now a boosted Furret. You can never farm this down with Alligator, so for a Mind Joke, he needs to send in Tinkaton. Tinkaton makes the bulldoze, but there's a catch by Nickname, and preserving that Furret. It's very low, but I think it's going to be the key to victory here. We do see the bulldoze debuff as the Alligator hits the field, and that's very unfortunate for the Zzweilous, as Zzweilous is now going to be taking a lot more damage. At this point of the game, the win condition is clear. The win condition is going to be Furret. The Play Rough is going to do significant damage to that Feraligatr. A Mind Joke still with 2 Protect Shields to hide behind. If he no shields, he's just getting farmed down by Sucker Punch, so he will commit the shield. Another Hydro Cannon is reached. Nickname thinks about it, but lets it go. He knows he needs Furret with a shield. Furret can never be farmed down, so the only way Furret loses is if a charge attack lands on it. Another Play Rough is reached. A Mind Joke lets it go, but now it is Furret time. Furret is going to hit the field, and we see these Sucker Punches adding up. The double resisted Shadow Claws doing basically no damage to the Furret. Furret's going to shield up. We're going to see a switch into the Tinkaton. The Fairy Wind goes through, but a Mind Joke shakes his head as he knows this Furret is simply unbeatable. The Swift is shielded. There's another Swift as well. And Nickname, by carefully preserving that Furret, by shielding earlier, catching the Bulldoze, is going to take a game 1 in which his opponent completely disrespected Shadow Typhlosion. For game number 2, Nickname, he's bringing Shadow Typhlosion this time, and it finds a target as it's leading into Shadow Jumpluff. This is a nightmare for a Mind Joke. A Mind Joke throws a Fairy Wind, defers the Incinerate onto the Diggersby. Diggersby is going to be answered with Azumarill. Now, this is a matchup where if Diggersby does get the back-to-back Scorching Sands debuff, which is a 9% chance, Diggersby can typically win the Zero Shield. And we do actually see the first attack debuff come through, but the thing to keep in mind is the fact that a Mind Joke, by throwing 1 Fairy Wind and switching into the Diggersby, transferred a Shadow Incinerate's worth of damage onto that Diggersby. So that means even if Diggersby does get the back-to-back Scorching Sands debuff here, it will not be able to hold on. And as it turns out, a Mind Joke actually gets the back-to-back, the 9% chance, but since he had transferred that Incinerate damage onto the Diggersby, Diggersby now doesn't have enough health to survive the -2 Ice Beam. So unfortunately, there is no switch flip to be had here. We're going to see Jumpluff farming up a ton of energy. Ice Beam is reached. A Mind Joke is going to commit the shield. As a Mind Joke knows, he's going to need an incredible amount of energy if he wants basically any hope in this game. Gonna go for an undercharge on the Aerial Ace. I love this play here because you want to try and exit with as much energy as possible. That's a really nice undercharge, and now he gets to exit with so much energy. In comes the Typhlosion. He's going for the bait, and a Mind Joke gets the bait called. What a play by Nickname. He no-shields the Aerial Ace, and that Aerial Ace bait is gonna come back to haunt a Mind Joke. He had played it so perfectly, got all the energy, but he baited assuming the glassy Typhlosion would always be shielding. But what a stone cold read by Nickname. Nickname calls the bait, and that immediately puts a Mind Joke on the defensive. Now it's going to be a Mind Joke's turn. Oh, he doesn't call the bait. He thought about it for a split second, but he will end up committing the shield. Another Aerial Ace is going to be reached. This Aerial Ace is going to be getting that Malamar low. Malamar is at the back-to-back foul plays, but Nickname can just let this go. He knows that as long as Typhlosion has shields, there's no way for Typhlosion to lose this game. So Typhlosion gets the switch in. We will see the Jumpluff firing off the Aerial Ace, but Typhlosion just wins charge attack priority over everything remaining on the field. So Typhlosion gets the farm up to the back-to-back moves, and this game will be over. Double Aerial Ace is going to force both of the shields, and we're going to see Typhlosion at the back-to-back Blast Burns. He ends up going for the double Thunder Punch. Either move will KO here. Thunder Punch is going to knock out. There's the Malamar. It has the charge attack loaded, but with the lower attack stat than Typhlosion, it's not going to get that move, and Nickname moves to 2-0 in this series. For game number 3, Nickname's running it back. Shadow Typhlosion on the lead once again, this time going to be met with a Lapras. This is a very fine position to be as the Typhlosion, as Typhlosion outpaces quite significantly and is able to immediately apply massive pressure. A Mind Joke is going to be no-shielding. Lapras takes the damage. Nickname safe switches into Azumarill, but a Mind Joke has the punish here. He's not switching in yet. He's banking 100 energy and then sending in the Tinkaton. We've seen this play pattern before when trainers safe switched Azumarill into a Shadow Drapion, and the Drapion players would just farm to 100 and switch out, and then that energy would be overwhelming in the endgame, and that's that same play pattern that we've now seen here. Nickname knows he's immediately in an incredible amount of danger. That Lapras energy hits hard on all of his remaining Pokemon. He has a Shadow Jumpluff in the back, which would get destroyed by Ice Beam, and Typhlosion would get absolutely annihilated by Sparkling Aria. So, by playing the way that he did, despite a pretty good lead, Nickname is now in a very negative position. He's going to send in Typhlosion, but there's the switch back into the Lapras. Well timed by a Mind Joke. A Mind Joke is now going to get 2 Sparkling Arias, so Nickname is forced to just let this go, as he knows if he shields, he has to double shield, and being down 2 shields, his Jumpluff is not beating anything. In comes the Jumpluff, but Jumpluff is immediately forced to shield. All the stored energy from a Mind Joke earlier in the game now coming back to haunt Nickname. Nickname gets a farm down. He has a little bit of energy, but with the Feraligatr in the back, Feraligatr, this is a bad matchup for the Jumpluff. Actually going to send in the Tinkaton here. Tinkaton going to be met with an Aerial Ace. I actually don't think this Aerial Ace will knock out here. The Aerial Ace does not knock out. We see the switch into the Feraligatr, and Feraligator's always going to be no shielding here. This is only going to be the Ice Beam from the Azumarill. Nickname could have made a Play Rough, but even a Play Rough would have been no shielded as well, because a Mind Joke knows as long as he has the shield advantage against the Jumpluff, Jumpluff has no ability to win this game. Jumpluff does end up shielding up the Ice Beam here, but even getting that shield call right will not be enough to take home this win, as a Mind Joke can just shield everything and outpace here, get into the Ice Beam before Nickname gets 2 more moves. So now, unfortunately for Nickname, he had an opportunity to advance the Grand Finals, but the fateful decision to send in the Azumarill into the Lapras and a Mind Joke being able to punish that play means that we are actually extending this series and we're going to a game number 4. A Mind Joke has managed to get 1 win, but he'll need back-to-back wins if he wants to advance the Grands. This has been a very well-fought series by Nickname, but the Game 3 mistake was letting Lapras get massive energy and running a line that was pretty soft to Lapras energy. So I'm expecting adjustments here from Nickname in Game number 4. Both trainers do lock in their lines. We're going to see a Corviknight into Tinkaton, so this is an incredibly good lead for Nickname. We're going to see a safe switch to Feraligatr. Feraligatr going to be answered by Furret. This is a matchup where the non-Shadow Feraligatr does perform better. The Furret, when it counter switches into the non-Shadow Feraligatr, it can fire off the Trailblaze, but the Trailblaze plus boosted Sucker Punches will not actually knock out, and it will actually allow the Feraligatr to get to a second Hydro Cannon. On even energy, this is not possible, but in a counter switch scenario like this, we actually see Feraligatr able to make a play for switch advantage. But for Nickname, he doesn't care about Feraligatr getting switch advantage because he ran ABA strong to the Tinkaton. In comes the Shadow Typhlosion, and now a Mind Joke is in an incredibly tough spot. Tinkaton is useless. It can do nothing against the Corviknight. He's forced to send Tinkaton into Typhlosion, and look at these Incinerates go. Absolutely destroying Tinkaton. Nickname is going to commit the shield on the Bulldoze. It's a 50-50 chance at a defense drop. We do see the defense drop come through, and now the back-to-back Thunder Punches have been reached. A Mind Joke just gonna let this go, but at this point, this Lapras, it enjoyed that energy advantage in game number 3, but now it's at a severe energy disadvantage, as this Typhlosion already has 2.5 Thunder Punches. Thunder Punch number 1 is going to be shielded. We're going to see the Sparkling Aria launched at the Typhlosion, but still with the shield to hide behind. Nickname nods. He knows this is game over. There's back-to-back Thunder Punches available. A Mind Joke is going to shield, hoping that somehow it's not at the back-to-back moves, but it is. Typhlosion gets the fire off the Thunder Punch, and there's a shake of a head from a Mind Joke as he knows this game is over. That's just too much damage. In comes Corviknight. Corviknight is going to fire off the 1 HP Iron Head to secure the knockout. And for Nickname, his Shadow Typhlosion proved to be deadly as he advances to Grand Finals, where he would eventually be crowned as the Utrecht Special Event Champion. This weekend's battles were incredibly fun to watch. It was really exciting to watch a lot of incredible battlers get in the lab, get the practice hours in, and be able to find an anti-meta Pokemon that could crack this meta team that completely took over the Milwaukee Regionals. Shadow Typhlosion feels like a high-risk, high-reward Pokemon. It's very glassy, and we saw the down energy, especially in that Game 3 going up against the Mind Joke, it can get completely destroyed. But if it's up energy or in even energy scenarios, it can be incredibly impactful throughout the course of games, and I really like seeing Pokemon like that have success. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, my name is Homeslice Henry. This is More Slice Henry, my second channel where I primarily focus on the Pokemon Go Championship series as well as educational content and Go Battle League content that strays a little bit outside the norm. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.